Mesa would get. Holland has a big problem. You listen to their city fathers or mothers or whatever, and I don't have a response for it, but it's what you say. A full third of the people that use and abuse drugs in Holland are foreigners. They don't know what to do about it. They come in from Germany, from France, from the United States to have a good time, and they make a nuisance of themselves. But California is such a big state. Yeah, we might have some. We might very well. That they're going to get lost because we're so big. I just don't see that as a problem. But the answer is yes. Yeah, it might be. We'll make some tax money. Hold them accountable for their actions, you know, that sort of stuff. So maybe. But if, you know, the city of Costa Mesa were to do it, that I would not recommend. Now, you had a...
Oh, I mean, I think I
okay, she doesn't.
I don't know what's politically most strategic, but
okay.
I think your use of the term legalization, if it's your use, I think that's fine. I don't think that's a universal definition of the term legalization.
Okay.
You can certainly legalize. I mean, aspirin is a legal drug, but so are also other prescription medications, which are highly regulated. So you can make
they're not legal.
Marijuana and regulate it
no.
tightly. That's still legal.
No, if you have to get a prescription for a drug, that is not a legalized drug under anybody's circumstance. It is a prescription drug. It is a medically controlled drug. As soon as you start,
it's still legal, though, right? To use it under the appropriate.
Yeah, here it's not illegal.
Excuse me.
It's not illegal.
Right.
As long as you have a prescription.
It's legal.
At any rate, okay. Now we're in a semantical. Okay.
The reason I'm actually picking up on this semantic point is because I wonder whether this careful use of the term legalization is helpful or actually hurtful from a public relations perspective.
I never use the L word.
Yeah.
I just don't. I just don't. Yes.
Going back to your 6 groups of people that are winning because of prohibition, have you ever considered or thought about big pharma or big pharmaceutical being one of those groups that are benefiting from the illegalization of medicine?
How many of you have heard? How many of you have heard of the Partnership for a Drug-Free America? Do you know who the original founders, supporters were of the Partnership for a Drug-Free America? It was the tobacco industry and the alcohol industry. Drug-free America indeed. Why would they do such a thing? From a marketing standpoint, it made perfect sense. They spent lots of money to reinforce the distinction between licit drugs and illicit drugs. Do you know who today the major sponsor is for a Partnership of Drug-Free America? The pharmaceutical industry. Little irony there, maybe. Drug-free America indeed, but yes. Look, the realization is, talk about hypocrisy, that you cannot patent a plant. You can't do it. And they do not want the competition from marijuana. I'm convinced of that. And marijuana today is a Schedule I drug. You know what that means? It means it has no medicinal properties whatsoever. Cocaine is a Schedule II drug, which means it can be prescribed by a medical doctor. No medicinal properties whatsoever. But if you want some synthetic marijuana, now we have a deal for you. You can get Marinol, which is a synthetic active ingredient marijuana, and according to the drug czar, does the same thing. That can be prescribed by a medical doctor. It's a Schedule II drug. What's the difference? The pharmaceutical industry can make money on the synthetic, the Marinol, so it's now a Schedule II drug. Isn't that a bit hypocritical? You want to hear some real hypocrisy? I think that's pretty close. But I was in a debate with Barry McCaffrey, the old general who was the drug czar under the Clinton administration. And he said, there's no report, study by a reputable office, foundation, government in our country that shows that marijuana is a viable medicine. And you know something? He's absolutely right. You want to know why? Because the federal government controls the marijuana, and even though you have these reputable organizations like the Centers of Disease Control, again, the University of California, knocking on their door saying, please let us conduct the studies, the federal government won't let them do it. That's beyond hypocrisy, from my standpoint. What's the matter with us? This is our government, by the way. If it isn't working, it's our fault. Shame on us all. Yes?
It sounds very good to say on the one hand, if drug use was regulated and controlled, then it would be boring and people wouldn't do it as much. And then on the other hand, they say, and the state would profit. But there seems to be something inherently contradictory about those arguments. Is the government's goal to eradicate the problem by making it boring, or to tax it and to profit? And if part of the government's goal is to profit, isn't there something ethically contradictory and problematic about that?
You have reached the question that troubles me the most. I'm a libertarian, and I'll get people saying, come on, Greg, get off it. Again, she's too modest, too nice. I don't trust the government. If you allow something like this, look at the lottery, the state of California. Yes, we have a lottery, which honestly is probably a good thing, but don't advertise it. Now the government is pushing the lottery, pushing it on people, a lot of them who can't afford it, so they make more money. And she's saying, same problem here. Which is the government going to do? Are you going to regulate it and control it so we push the illegal dealers out of business, de-glamorize it, and reduce usage? That's my idea. Or are they going to say, wait a minute, folks, look at all this money coming in. Let's advertise it. Let's make more money. That's a real problem. And I don't have an answer other than vigilance. Nobody, not me, not you, not anybody, can design a program that's not going to have problems. You know, are we going to have, it's the difference, you're involved with the law. There's a difference between the word solution and the word resolution, right? I'd use this in my settlement conferences all the time. I'm sorry, you know, a car ran the red light and it ran into you and it, you know, you lost your left arm. There's no solution for that. I can't bring your arm back. I can't make problems go away. All I can do is offer you some money. We can resolve this. We can dust you off, kind of aim you off in the right direction, and you can get on with your life. But with regard to almost any human conduct, there's no solution. You want a solution? Become a mathematician. You know, you work out a formula. So it's the same thing with regard to this. Let's try to resolve this. Let's try to follow the Holland policy of realizing that the presence of these drugs in our communities, which will always be here, always have, always will, are going to bring problems. And let's take an overall approach to reduce those problems. One of the approaches, again, is another secret, another issue that we must start acknowledging. There's a difference between drug harms on the one hand, and I'm not saying anything to try to minimize them. They're severe in some cases. They're certainly going to be with us, and we need to address them. But there's a difference between drug harms and drug money harms. You look at Colombia today. You look at Mexico today. They really don't have drug problems. They really just don't. But they have absolutely overwhelming, mind-boggling drug money problems, don't they? And it's our drug money that's doing this. The harms, the killings down in Mexico, since President Calderon came in and instituted his heavy war on drugs now and everything else. 20,000, count them, 20,000 people in Mexico just in the last 2 years have died a violent death. I acknowledge a lot of those were involved in the drug business, but a lot of other people, and you read about it in the papers and everything else, you know, kids, citizens caught in the crossfire, police. That's a problem we can deal with. That's a problem we should deal with. And when it comes down to it, you want to know another irony? We could bulldoze Colombia. We could obliterate it from the face of the earth. In fact, you could take Ecuador and Peru with it if you wanted to, and it wouldn't make any difference at all with regard to our drug problems here. Why? You economics majors, if the demand is here, the demand will be met. End of discussion. If the demand is here, somebody will take even large criminal justice risks in order to sell small amounts of drugs for large amounts of money. And if I'm going to sit here with my $20 bill and hand it saying, who's going to give me $20 worth of marijuana, I assure you somebody's going to match that. So if it's not met by Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, it'll be met by Nigeria, or Thailand, or Burma, Myanmar Republic, or California. We cannot repeal the law of supply and demand. We feign surprise when we keep reaching that result, but we just can't do it. They're here. So we can deal with the drug money problems. Let's do that. And let's take this overall approach, understanding Portugal as well. and saying, you know, if we deglamorize it, we gain control, understanding prohibition doesn't